Hey, welcome to Documentation.AI. If you are setting up docs for a product, an API, a help center, or an internal knowledge base, this platform here helps you right away, keeps things organized, and ships documentation that looks and feels polished. In this video, I'll walk you through the main workflow end-to-end with all real examples you can copy. Let's start with our web editor. The web editor is the fastest way to make changes. For example, let's say this sentence is a bit unclear. I can click right in and rewrite it in plain language, like, go to Settings and open Project, then copy your project ID. And that's it. No setup, no context switching. It's great for quick updates, collaborating with teammates, and keeping docs accurate. If your team works in Git, this is where things get really smooth. You can connect your GitHub or GitLab repo and manage docs with the same workflow you use for your product or website code. Now let's do a quick walkthrough using this demo documentation for Etherflow. It's a great example of clean and structured documentation. At the top, you'll notice it's organized into dimensions. Etherflow has different docs for individuals versus teams, so instead of mixing everything together, they separate the experience based on who's reading. And inside, for teams, they also have another dimension for multiple versions, so you can keep V1 and V2 side by side without breaking your navigation or confusing users. Now look at the main navigation tabs. So they have created 4 tabs for organizing the documentation of Teams of version 1 into Home, API References, Help Center, and Changelog. Home is the full, detailed documentation, your product guides, core concepts, setup, and feature walkthroughs. API Reference is separated as its own tab, so developers can jump straight into endpoints, parameters, auth, and examples. Help Center is for quick answers, common questions, and troubleshooting. Changelog is where updates live, so users can track what's new. This is the kind of structure you can create using Documentation.AI. Let's see how to use our editor. Our editor includes a library of components that help you build pages that are easier to read and easier to use. Components are where your docs start feeling really professional. Let's say you're documenting something sensitive, like account permissions or API keys. You might add a warning. You just type /. Choose a callout style from components list. And type your message. Never share your production access token in chat. The callout makes that message hard to miss, without interrupting the flow of the page. We'll try adding another useful component, tabs. For example, if you're explaining how to complete a task in different places, like in the web app, in the mobile app, and in the admin dashboard. You can write different versions of content in its own tab. Tabs keep all of that in one place. So readers don't have to scroll past content that doesn't apply to them. You've got plenty more components in our editor, steps for tutorials, tables for configuration options, cards for navigation, expandables for advanced details, images and videos, code groups, and more. Let's see how to manage pages now. As your docs grow, you'll constantly add and adjust pages. Managing pages in the editor is very simple. If you already have a group structure, like Getting Started, Integrations, API Overview, like this, you can add pages directly into those groups. Just click the plus icon next to the group where you want a new page, choose the type of page you want. And let's create a page called Troubleshooting. I can even adjust the page URL here and also have a lot more options for page customization here. That's it. The page is created. And then I can drag the page in sidebar to position it where users will naturally look for it. Removing pages is very simple. If you have an old page that's no longer accurate, you can remove it so users don't follow outdated instructions. When you do that, the page moves into your unpublished pages, so you can bring it back later if you need it. Now I'll walk you through the navigation structure in Documentation.AI and explain how to organize your documentation. You don't need a technical team to organize and structure your documentation in Documentation.AI's web editor. In our documentation navigation structure, we have dimensions, views, and content. Dimensions, the top-level context, which appears as small drop-downs at the top of the header. You can use these to organize documentation for multiple products or tools, manage multiple languages, and maintain multiple versions of your documentation. The second layer of navigation is views, which is the most commonly used layer. Views appear as tabs and drop-downs. These are used to organize your documentation pages, such as Home, Guides, Help Center, API references, and more. The last layer of navigation is content, which includes groups and pages that contain the actual reading material. Finally, our navigation structure works like this. Dimensions for multiple products, tools, languages, and versions. Views to organize content in tabs or drop-downs. Content the groups and pages that hold the real documents. All navigation layers in Documentation.AI are ordered in a hierarchy. If you switch to V2, the structure can change completely, because all these layers were created under V1, and you can create a new structure for V2. Now let's try creating a navigation structure. I have some content that includes a few pages and groups. Let's say I want to organize this content into tabs for Guides and API references. To add a navigation layer, hover here on top left and click the plus icon. This drop-down shows dimensions and views, which are the first and second layers of the navigation structure. Now, when I add a layer, the Guides tab. When the new parent layer is added, all the existing content will be wrapped under it, the Guides tab in our case. Then I can create a second tab. And now I can move existing content to this API reference tab, or write fresh content there. For now I'll move a couple of groups related to API from the Guides tab to the other tab, API references. And once published, you can view the changes in live documentation. Now, let's say Acme has another tool and wants to maintain its documentation in a separate structure and content for it. To do that, we need to add a parent layer to the existing documentation. To add a parent layer to existing tabs, click on the top plus icon above the tabs dropdown. Then select the parent layer you want to add. Dimensions is the best parent layer option above tabs. I'll add a product named Acme Alpha. Whenever we create a parent layer, all existing documentation moves under the new parent layer. And now I can add another product, naming it Acme Beta. Then create or move content here, just like we did after creating the API reference tab. Let us go a step further. Assume we have a situation where we have a large amount of content here and need to maintain two separate sections for API reference tab. For that we need to create a layer that sits between the tab and the content. So, now we have to add a child layer to a tab that creates a layer between tabs and content. Select the tab where you need a sublayer and click the bottom plus icon. For sublayer, we have drop-down option. And let's name the first drop-down as Accounts and the second one as Payments. For content, let's move some content from first drop-down to payment drop-down. This is how you can create and manage your navigation structure with Documentation.AI. Now let us have a quick walkthrough of our AI agent. This agent is for doing real documentation work, not just chatting. You can ask it to write new content, update content based on changes in other pages or your Git commits, create or update your document structure, fix issues like broken links or outdated slugs, help you manage file paths and page organization, and a lot more. For example, I can say, Update the introduction page to mention all new integrations. The agent first looks at the relevant content pages. Then make the changes accordingly. And it also shows me exactly what changed so I can review before publishing. Now I'll show how we keep our documentation up to date using the agent. I'll ask it to check the last 10 commits in the app and dashboard and list the documentation changes required. It scans and inspects all the recent Git commits and then responds with recommendations for the updates. Next, I can ask it to apply the necessary changes. That's it. The docs are updated quickly and precisely. I can just review the changes and publish the documentation. In Documentation.AI, you can control exactly who can access your documentation. Simply go to Settings, then Access Control, switch the visibility from public to private, and set a password for authentication. After enabling access control, you just need to republish the docs once for the changes to take effect. I'll open the documentation in an incognito window to verify, and now it prompts for a password to access the Acme documentation. In many cases, different parts of your docs need different access levels. To do that, switch access control to partial and save. For example, you might keep your main documentation public, while restricting certain internal guides or API reference sections so only specific users can view them. You can choose exactly which pages remain public. You can even mark an entire parent section as public to make all its child pages public automatically. Now, only the pages I marked, like the API reference, require authentication. Access control lets you decide who can view and who can edit, so you can safely scale documentation across your organization. Documentation.AI includes multiple templates, so you can choose the one that best fits your structure and brand style. For example, Classic provides a more traditional layout with structured navigation, while Atlas offers a cleaner, more modern experience with simplified navigation. You can start with a template that matches how you want your documentation to feel, and then refine it over time. Switching between templates is easy and can be done anytime. Once you're happy with the changes, simply return to the editor and publish. Next, you can set up a custom domain. Just go to Settings, then Domain Settings. You can use something like docs.yourcompany.com or yourcompany.com/docs, so users know they're in the right place and your documentation has a clean, professional URL. Enter your custom domain and follow the connection instructions. Once it's configured, all your documentation will be served from that domain. If you prefer using a subpath instead of a subdomain, simply enable the subpath toggle and enter your desired URL. For SEO, you can control how search engines, and even AI models, discover and understand your documentation. Under General Settings, scroll down to SEO Settings. Here you'll find controls for indexing, crawling, and site discovery. You can allow or prevent search engines from indexing your docs and following links, enable sitemap generation for better page discovery, and generate an llms.txt file to help AI systems understand your documentation structure. After making changes, just publish your docs to apply them. And scroll down for redirects. Redirects are essential when you reorganize your documentation structure. For instance, if your old URL was /quickstart and you move that page to /gettingstarted/quickstart, you can add a redirect so existing bookmarks, shared links, and search engine results still take users to the correct page. This way, you avoid broken links and ensure a smooth experience even as your docs evolve. If you're documenting an API, you can import an OpenAPI spec to automatically generate a structured API reference. Simply create an open API page, paste your spec, and Documentation.AI will generate all endpoints, such as GT, post, and delete, along with parameters, authentication details, and example responses. You can also enable an interactive playground so developers can try requests directly from the docs. This makes your documentation not just descriptive, but truly usable for exploring and testing your API. Finally, Ask AI helps readers get answers instantly. Instead of digging through the sidebar, they can just ask a question. For example, how do I integrate Slack and Intercom? Ask AI reads your documentation and gives a clear, direct answer, often linking back to the exact pages they need. So users get help instantly, and your team gets fewer support tickets. And that's the tour. The idea is simple: write however you prefer, in the web editor or in code, organize content for different audiences, publish with confidence, and use AI to speed up the parts that usually slow teams down. You can explore our documentation, or use Ask AI directly inside the docs if you want to dive deeper. Whenever you're ready, start with the demo docs or create your first page and build from there.